All right, I just picked up a new skirt, that one right there, and I have a little trick I do with them, and it got me thinking to kind of point out to other people, in case something interests, something I've been doing. Uh, Started kayaking 11, maybe 12 years ago, and that was the very first skirt. Came with the first boat I bought, and when I got it, it was just regular underside, and I had put a coating on it of silicone. I'd seen where you could buy them that came with latex, because I'd bought this one right after, because I had another boat with a bigger cockpit, and it came with latex coating. And this really worked out really good. In fact, I ended up liking it more so. And just for the record, so both these skirts are like over 10 years old. And actually you'll notice this on my old skirts too. It's a golf ball you drill out and use as a zip tie. That way when you're putting it on and you got it out front, you give it a flip, it comes up, doesn't get stuck in there. Plus we boat in cold weather, we have mitts. Just makes grabbing this and pulling it so much easier. Anyway, besides the point. So as you can tell, I like the UK made skirts. So I had this one made custom for my squirt boat, actually. That's why it looks so small. And they made it with the latex under. The problem I find is, like I do this, they're really sticky when you first get them. But then it's not as grippy. Like that pushes pretty easy, right? Like slides right off. Now, and the Piranha one, to be fair, same thing. Now I still think it helps seal the boat. It just doesn't have the grip. So I actually preferred the old skirt wherever I could wear it, just because of that. So I just needed a new one because I end up having to go to bigger boats. This is a size large Genesis. That's a size large Piranha Everest. So Nookie offered these with and without the latex coating. So I actually went the cheaper route. The only difference in them is one's coated, one's not. So I actually went the cheaper route. I think it was, if I remember right, 10 British pounds or 10 pounds sterling, whatever they call it, cheaper to get it without. So I saved myself some money, and my intent is to do the same thing I did this one, just for reference. See, it won't slide on the boat. That's like 12 years old, still sticky. And as I tell people, I said, I'm no engineer, but a friend of mine is, and I did it for his, and he loves it. So there you go. But anyway, I was just going to show you how I do it. I only got one hand to hold the camera, but you take whichever boat is, I'm going to use this one, and I put the skirt on it inside out, and I'll break away from the camera to do that. And I end up using silicone, but make sure it's not caulking. This is 100% silicone. Caulking is the garbage you use in your tub and then it cracks and leaks off. Just clear silicone. I mean, you could use colored, doesn't matter, but I use clear. So I'll just show you here in a minute. So everybody knows how hard it is. Actually, probably a lot of people don't know how hard it is to get one on outside the boat, upside down. But anyway, I got it on, and you can see now I have what will ride on the inside of the coaming all exposed. And I'll take and throw on some like latex gloves or whatever, and I'll just run it on here, and I'll work it in with my fingers. Like I'll rub it right in, and the silicone will take into this nylon jersey knit, I think they call it, the fabric here, and it'll stay put, and like it'll stretch with it. One of the reasons I put it on the boat first is so that it'll take to what size it is, because I think if you did it flat, it'll actually add enough elasticity or tension to it, it would make it even harder to put on. So I put it on the boat, holds it still. That way I can get a nice neat, you know, it gives me an idea too, like this is how far my combing comes. So there's not really much need to go farther than that. On a friend of mine, speaking of which, like you can see there, like where the ratchets are, actually came up and out with his, because he had a wave sport at the time and his ratchets are right up high, and you could actually see on his skirt where it was wearing spots in it. So you could use it as a bit of a, like, add durability to it. But anyway, I'll just go around this. And one of the things I'll do is when I'm putting it on, when I got it like spread and through to here, when I'm done, I'll have my fingers like that, and I'll go around it. And well, it's still quite pliable. And what that does is the little gap in between your fingers, it leaves like two ridges, and they act just like when you get a valve cover gasket or something that's ribbed, so that the ridges actually help seal. And I'll do it with the boat, not this way. That way it's just more points of sealing. There we go. Didn't actually take me very long. You can see I ended up with my linear little ribs, I guess we'll call them. Do they do anything? I don't know. But anyway, it makes me feel better. Anyway, so basically whatever the wrap, like with it being inside out, you can tell what your wrap's going to be going around your combing. So that's as far as I did. Didn't bother going any farther. And like you can get your fingers under there good. You know, basically whatever's going to wrap the boat combing, you can coat real well. Because here is about where it stops. And right down. The extra material that these type skirts have, I didn't get that, but you know, it's not really all that big a deal when you do this. But anyway, I'll leave it on the boat. Like this actually sets up to the touch pretty good time. That's one of the reasons I don't waste time doing it, is because it will set up pretty quick. But when it's about halfway, like so you can, any spot where it's thicker you can touch and it doesn't deform or anything. And then I'll pop it off and hang it up, let it dry. And like when it's done, you'll get some wrinkling effect where it dried and the skirt shrunk up a bit. But it's never been an issue. Like the only time that wouldn't be is if you're putting on a boat that it was a little big for, and it's not going to be dry anyway, that fact. But anyway, like I say, hopefully this is an idea that anybody I've done this with their skirts, they've really liked it. They just see how sometimes, like when I'm trying to put them on, they're gripping really good. And when you get skirts that sometimes want to pull up on the edges, on your, like, don't want to stay seated, it really helps with that. And that's where any friends I've done it with theirs, that's what they're really noticing. Anyway, and just for the record, going back to this skirt, I wish they still made that one. That thing held up like a tank. Anyway, thought I'd add, years ago I'd bought these Nookie dry pants too. I'll admit at the time I was in love with the graphics they put on all their stuff. Anyway, they had the really high waist and I liked the idea of that. So I was doing stuff like this for somebody. So I went one step further on this stuff too. I actually put them inside out over a plastic bucket. I taped it off just to keep it looking nice and good, and I put a layer of that silicone on there. And when I put these on, I roll them down. I put my dry top on and put the inner skirt down. If I'm, when I'm wearing this as a two-piece instead of a suit, and this really grips well, and I just felt it made a good seal against the inner tunnel of the dry suit. Then roll this up and it helped keep it tucked in and everything. Anyway, just one more use for it, I guess. And like I say, this, I think there's no date or anything, but the fact they haven't made these in that design for years, but you can see it's still sticky and just, I don't know, just extra grip, extra seal. Should keep you dry, right?